is Mrs. Miriam Adebara. I'm from Imo State. Married to Ondo State, precisely. I've been married for 9 years. So, and I have 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls.
That's interesting. From most of the people I've spoken with in a couple of days, I hardly had seen anyone who has this intertribal marriage. So you're one of them, an exciting one at that. Please, 9 years. Can you share with us your experience of intertribal marriage from the east to the west?
Okay, let me start. Though it's when I wanted to get married to my husband, it was not easy because my parents stood against it. My siblings, my uncles, in fact the entire family, they were against me getting married to Yoruba man. They were not asking me how will a dad like me getting married and getting married like my own state, precisely. I'm from Imo State, although in the local government. You hardly see first daughters get married to other places. But when I stood my ground and my husband was behind me, he was the kind of person, he was so supportive and he was ready to do anything just to see that we are married. The war was much, even from his own side. His parents was against me, most especially my mother-in-law, she's late now, and my sister-in-law. They said, among all the Europeans, does it mean that you can't find love? My husband told us something about this lady that I want to get married to. It was war, it was so tough, it wasn't easy. And besides, religion came across the both marriage. My husband is, I think, CAC versus Catholic. And when we got married, it was a very big challenge. My mother-in-law said I have to leave Catholic Church and start worshiping with them in CAC. But it's not something of fighting and quarreling. For the first 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, I was going to CAC. But at the time, though, it took me like 4 years before I conceived. It wasn't easy. The marriage is full of battle, but what matters is your partner, and most especially God, the relationship you have with God. If you are the kind of person you don't have anything with God, most especially me, I am using myself as an example. If God has not been on my side, this marriage should have crashed. Because problems was coming from my husband's side, my own side, most especially when I didn't give birth. It took me 1 year, 2 years, that was my 4th year before I conceived my first child. It was battle, fighting and quarreling from my husband's side, them throwing me out of the house, telling me to go, that they are not interested, that I'm a married woman, that Igbo girls don't normally give birth, that I've aborted all my babies when I was in school. But despite that, my husband was beside me. He never said anything bad to hurt me. He was there pleading to me that God is going to give us children, that I shouldn't look at the mom and the sisters, that I should just focus on his face, I should look at him. So, as God may have it, that was my 4th year. I conceived my first child. She happens to be a baby girl. And from then till now, peace has reigned. It wasn't easy. Getting married to this tribalism is a very big problem. My point of view is, before you get married to non-tribes, like getting from Igbo to Yoruba, or from outside to Igbo, you have to think about it. You have to be a prayerful man, because without God, it's going to crash. So this is all I have to say. My few years of experience in the marriage. I thank God for the kind of life partner I have. They're supporting me.
Thank you very much. That's a very wonderful one. From the point of view of you now who got married intertribal and the experiences that follow, will you say there is anything that is regrettable in that action of yours?
Well, if I must say, my advice to young ladies, I will advise not to criticize on tribalism. In Igbo land, they will have bad men and bad women. Anybody can happen to be a victim. What I'm after is the person, human, the person you want to settle down. Who is he? What relationship does he have with God? What does he do? What relationship does you people have together? You understand? Most ladies are tied down in their father's house because of tribalism. They criticize on tribalism. Let me add, there was the year 2015, I lost my grandma. You know, my husband people came, they chartered motor, they came. So what people were saying that they hate Yorubas, but if their own children who happens to get somebody like my husband, that they will accept the person as an in-law. So I'm not against tribalism. It depends on whom we are getting married to. We are all one. We are created by one God. So there is no need of criticizing of tribalism. Every tribe have good ones and bad ones. Igbo have, Calabar have, Hausa have, Ijaw have, Delta have, River State they have. Depends on the family we are going to. And most especially again, there is one disadvantage about getting married to tribalism. You know, like Igbo proverb said, in the sense that if you want to get married to the people you know what they are suffering from. Like some families, they have, they are always diabetic, some they are cancerous, some they die premature, some they run mad. You know, these are the things you need to find out in getting married to tribal, interstate marriage. You understand? Like my own husband family, they are always in touch with stroke. You know, that is their own disease. Every family has their own personal disease. So these are the things you need to find out before you get into any marriage. So my advice to young ladies, young girls, you don't need to criticize on tribalism. There are people, they get married to the whites. My brother is a victim and he's happily married. So don't criticize on tribal. We are made by one God.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's been a very wonderful one. The last question I want to find out, you have a daughter.
Yes.
If your daughter wants to marry from the core north, what will you say to her?
No, like, I won't stop her, number one. Secondly, the person must be Christian. Where I'm going to interfere and interrupt is getting married to Muslim. My faith is against it. Even if she wants to marry Kutumi or Ghana, or Ghanaians, or Abidjan, or outside the country, I can never stop any of my child, both the male child, to marry from where they find the love of their life. In the sense that you don't know whom God has destined that child to be. Like me, most times my husband said, if he has not married me, he doesn't know what will be his fate by now. So for a man to say this, that means he finds peace, love, and care, even everything in the marriage. You get it? So you don't stop a child getting married to whom she wants to or he wants to marry. Because it might be the will of God for she to get married to somebody like that. And mostly, you have to pray before you get into any marriage. You must pray. You have to seek for God's intervention before you get into any marriage. It might not be your personal decision, but it must come from God's direction. He can never lead you astray. So that is why most times you put everything in the hand of God. He will show you the perfect way to follow.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you on Rescue Marriage and Relationship Initiative. We'll be glad if you just reintroduce yourself before we shut down.
My name is Mrs. Miriam Adebara, right from Ondo State now, not longer Imo State. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure having you.